A billionaire dad and his 7-year-old son go on a Christmas vacation to Vietnam and end up trapped in a deadly storm on a mountain road. A poor widow with almost nothing risks everything to save them. 2 months later, he shows up in her village again, and what he does next, nobody was ready for it. If you love real tear-jerker stories about kindness, stay with me till the end. And hey, before we dive in, hit like, subscribe, and turn on that little bell icon so you don't miss any story that might change your day or your heart. Logan Pierce was the kind of rich most people only see in magazines. Private jet, glass office in a Cincinnati high-rise, a calendar so packed his assistant had to color-code his stress. But that December he did something wild. He hit pause. "Just me and you this Christmas, buddy," he told his 7-year-old son Mason. "No meetings, no calls, just us." Mason looked up from his tablet, eyes wide. "For real? No laptop? No phone?" Logan laughed, a little guilty. "For real, Scout's honor." Instead of Aspen or some five-star resort in Europe, Logan picked Vietnam. He'd read an article about Christmas lights in Da Nang, lanterns in Hoi An mountains, beaches, night markets, and something about the place just tugged at him. So off they went. The air in Da Nang hit different, warm and humid even in December, scooters buzzing by like a swarm of bees. Street food stalls everywhere, smelling like grilled meat, lime, and smoke. "Dad, look at that." Mason pointed at a woman balancing 2 baskets on a bamboo pole, weaving through traffic like it was nothing. "This place is kinda crazy," he said, grinning. "But like the good kind of crazy." Logan smiled. "Yeah, same." They checked into a small beach hotel, not some insane 7-star tower. Logan had insisted. "If we're doing this," he told his assistant, "we're doing it real. No bubble. No VIP treatment." So they had a simple room, 2 beds, a balcony facing the sea, salt in the air, waves hitting the shore all night. It felt honest. That night they walked through a Christmas market near the river, lights hanging from trees, vendors selling fake Santa hats and glowing toys, a few carols playing on tinny speakers. Mason held his dad's hand tight. "Hey, Dad." "Yeah, bud." "Are you happy?" The question hit harder than Logan expected. He looked down at his son. Big brown eyes, freckles across his nose, a kid who'd spent more time with nannies and drivers than with his actual father. Logan swallowed. "Right now," he said. "Yeah, I am." They grabbed dinner at a tiny corner shop, plastic chairs, fluorescent light. Bowls of hot fuzz slid across the table. A woman in her 30s moved between the tables. Slim, quiet, eyes sharp but tired in a way you don't get from lack of sleep alone. She refilled their tea, gave Mason extra herbs, and smiled when he tried to say thank you in Vietnamese. "Cam on," he said, stumbling over the words. She laughed softly and corrected him slowly, patiently. "See letter 1E3M on." Logan watched her for a second too long. There was something about her. Not just the way she moved, but the way she kept glancing at the door, like she was always half ready for something bad to happen. He didn't know it yet, but that woman was about to change everything. On Christmas Eve, Logan booked a day trip, a driver, a winding road into the mountains, temples, viewpoints, photo stops, the whole tourist thing. "Last adventure before Santa finds us in Vietnam," he joked. They climbed into a worn but sturdy van that morning. Logan in the front passenger seat, Mason in the back, nose pressed to the glass. The sky was blue. The forecast looked fine. The driver hummed under his breath, one hand on the wheel. Halfway up the mountain, the weather snapped. Clouds rolled in fast. Rain started as a drizzle, then turned into a full-on wall of water. "Geez," Logan muttered. "This escalated quick." The driver frowned, slowing down. Roads in the mountains get tricky when it rains, and this wasn't just rain anymore. It was a storm, wind howling, trees bending, water rushing down the sides of the road like mini waterfalls. "Dad," Mason's voice shook a little, "I don't like this." "I know, buddy." Logan tried to sound calm. "We're good, we're okay." But his hands were tight on his knees. A rockfall warning sign flashed past. "Maybe we should turn around," Logan said. The driver nodded. Okay, we go back now. He started to turn the van on a narrow stretch of road. That's when it happened. A crack like thunder. A blur of movement. The sickening sound of rock hitting metal. And the world tipped sideways. The mountainside above them gave way, a stream of mud and stone slamming into the back of the van. Logan grabbed the dashboard as the van lurched, tires skidding toward the drop. For one split second he saw it, the edge, nothing beyond but mist and a valley far, far below. "Dad!" Mason screamed. And then the van stopped. Not because of brakes, not because of luck, because someone outside was holding on. Logan's heart was punching his ribs. The van had no business still being on that road. Half the rear wheels were hanging over broken asphalt. Mud pushing against the side. Rain hammering down so hard he could barely see. "Don't move!" the driver yelled, like they were going anywhere. Then through the chaos Logan heard another sound, a woman's voice, sharp, commanding, "Push now. Don't let go." He twisted in his seat, trying to see through the cracked side mirror. And there she was, the same woman from the little pho shop, soaked to the bone, hair plastered to her face, feet braced in the mud. She had both hands pressed against the van, shoulder into the metal, pushing with everything she had. Behind her, another person, an older man, was doing the same. His legs shook, but he kept pushing. Hang on," Logan muttered, more to himself than anyone else. The driver slammed the van into gear, gently easing forward. For one horrible moment the tires spun uselessly. Then they caught. The van jerked, scraped, and finally crawled back up onto solid road. The woman stumbled forward and almost fell. The older man grabbed her elbow. Logan's whole body sagged with relief. Mason was crying in the back. "I don't want to die, Dad. I don't want to die." Logan twisted around, reached for him, pulled him into the front seat. "You're okay," he whispered. "We're okay. I got you, I promise." His hands were still shaking. The driver climbed out first, shouting in Vietnamese. Logan followed, legs rubbery. Rain hit him like needles. Up close, the damage was worse. The van's rear was dented and streaked with mud. Half the mountainside behind them was still shifting, little rocks rolling down like the mountain wasn't done yet. The woman wiped her face with a muddy sleeve. Her clothes were simple. Old jeans, a faded hoodie, sandals. Who wears sandals in a storm? But her eyes were steady. "You okay?" she asked in careful English. Logan just stared at her for a second. You saved us," he said. "Like, no exaggeration. You literally saved our lives." She shrugged like it was nothing. "Road bad in rain," she said. "Van too close. We shout, but you know here." She pointed up the road. "I work small guest house. We see van. We run." The older man nodded, chest heaving. "Family," she said. "My uncle." The driver bowed his head over and over, talking fast, clearly embarrassed and grateful all at once. Another crack of thunder. The woman looked toward the sky, then back at Logan. "More coming," she said. "You cannot stay on road, too dangerous. Come with us." Logan hesitated for half a second. He didn't know this woman. He was in a foreign country on a half-collapsed mountain road with his kid. But then Mason's small hand slid into his. "Dad," he whispered, voice raw, "can we please go with her?" Logan nodded slowly. "Yeah, buddy. Yeah, we're going." They followed her up a narrow side path off the main road. The mud grabbed at their shoes. Rain made everything slick and messy. The guest house appeared like something out of a dream, a low building with a tin roof. Fog curling around the edges, lanterns hanging by the door, their light fighting against the storm. The woman shoved the door open. "Come, inside." Warmth hit them first. Then the smell, rice, ginger, something cooking on a gas stove. Mason stopped crying long enough to sniff. "Is that food?" The woman almost smiled. "Yes, food." She moved fast. Towels. Dry clothes for Mason from a basket of kids' things. A blanket for Logan. Tea pressed into his hands, hot and sweet, fighting the chill that had sunk into his bones. They sat around a low table, shoes off, socks drying by a little heater. Logan finally found his voice. "What's your name?" he asked. She poured tea for the uncle first, then Mason, then Logan. "My name is Lynn," she said. "I run this place." You own it? Logan asked. She shook her head. Own or live in city, I clean, cook, take care of guests, sometimes tourists. Sometimes no one. Her English was careful, but her meaning was crystal clear. She did everything for not nearly enough. How'd you even see us? Logan asked. Lynn glanced at the window. Storm start, I watch road, she said. Always 1 year big rock fall, family die, no one help. She shrugged, but her eyes darkened. Now I watch just in case. Just in case. That just in case had saved his son's life. Thank you, Logan said quietly. Like seriously, I don't even know how to say it big enough. Just thank you, she nodded once. Boy, okay. That important. Mason, wrapped in an oversized t-shirt and a blanket, ate the bowl of rice she put in front of him like he hadn't seen food in 3 days. This is so good, he said between bites. Way better than Dad's cooking. Logan snorted. Hey, rude but not wrong. Lynn's lips curled into the smallest smile. Rain still hammered the roof. Thunder rolled. The mountain road was a mess. But inside that tiny guest house, there was warmth, food, and a woman who just risked her own life for two total strangers. She didn't know Logan was a billionaire from Cincinnati. She didn't know about his jet, his company, his bank account. As far as she knew, he was just some scared dad with a shaking voice and a kid who clung to him like he was the whole world. And she treated them exactly like that. Not like a paycheck, not like a problem, just people who needed help. Logan would remember that feeling for a long time, long after the storm passed, long after the road reopened, long after they got on a plane and flew back across the world. He just didn't know yet that this wasn't the end of the story. It was the beginning. Cincinnati in February hits different after Vietnam. Gray skies, cold sidewalks, glass towers with perfectly polished lobbies that smell like money and burnt coffee. Logan walked through the revolving doors of Pierce Holdings like he always did, but he didn't feel like he always had. He felt off. In his office, the view was still insane. The city spread out below. The river, bridges, cars like toys. He used to love that view. Now all he could see was a narrow road on a mountainside in Vietnam, a van hanging over the edge, a woman in sandals digging her feet into the mud and pushing like her life depended on it. Except it wasn't her life. It was his, and Mason's. Sir. His assistant, Jenna, poked her head in. You've got the quarterly numbers ready for review, and the board wants to confirm your speech for the investor summit. Also, the charity gala asked if... Hey, Jenna, he interrupted. Yes, sir. He stared at the reports on his desk. Profits, growth, projections, all the stuff he used to live for. Do you ever feel like all of this is kinda fake? He asked. She blinked. Sir. Like, we sit up here talking about percentages and shareholder value and optimizing performance, and somewhere out there people are out in the rain literally holding vans up with their bare hands. Jenna gave him that polite, confused smile assistant's master by year 2. I can move your speech review if you'd like, Logan sighed. Yeah, do that. He went home early that day. Mason was on the living room floor building something out of Legos. Hey, bud, Logan said, dropping down beside him. What are we making? A hotel, Mason said, but not like the ones you stay in, like the one Miss Lynn had, small, cozy, but with better windows so it doesn't leak when it rains. Logan stared at the little plastic blocks. It punched him right in the chest. You still thinking about Vietnam? He asked. Yeah, Mason said. That storm was scary, but it was kinda cool too. Not the almost dying part, he added quickly. But like the way Miss Lynn helped us, she didn't even know us, Dad, and she didn't ask for anything. Logan swallowed. Yeah, I know. Are we gonna see her again? Mason asked. Logan hesitated. I don't know, buddy. I don't even have her phone number, just the name of the guest house and the road. Can't you find her? Mason looked up. You're like rich, you can find anything. Kids say stuff so simple it hurts. Logan nodded slowly. Maybe we can. That night after Mason went to bed, Logan sat in his home office with his laptop open and that old familiar intensity back in his eyes. But it wasn't on a deal this time. It was on a mission. He pulled up a map, zoomed in on the area near Da Nang. Mountain roads, little towns, a tiny marker for a guest house that looked kinda familiar. He wrote down everything he remembered. The name of the road, the word guest house in Vietnamese from the sign, the way the place looked. Then he sent it all to Jenna. Need a favor, find this place. Find the woman who runs it. Name, Lynn. She helped my son and me in a storm. I owe her my entire life. I'm not exaggerating. Jenna replied in less than 5 minutes. On it. Days went by. The storm in Vietnam turned into a story he told when people asked how his vacation went. Crazy weather, he'd say. Thought we were done for. Local woman helped us out. People are amazing. Everyone would nod, say something like, wow, that's wild, and then change the subject back to business. But Logan couldn't change the subject in his own head. In meetings, he'd catch himself zoning out, thinking about the guest house. Was it leaking right now? Did Lynn have enough guests? Enough food? Was she okay? It took almost 2 weeks before Jenna stepped into his office, eyes bright. Got her, she said simply. Logan's chair scraped the floor as he stood up. You're serious, she nodded. Took some digging, had to talk to a local NGO and an embassy contact. But yeah, we found the guest house. We found Lynn. Logan's heart kicked into a higher gear. Is she okay? He asked. Is the place okay? She's surviving, Jenna said carefully. Guest house business is slow, storm damage, owner doesn't maintain it much. She lives there, works there, supports an elderly uncle. Her husband died in a typhoon 5 years ago. She's basically doing everything with nothing. Logan sat back down slowly. Everything with nothing. He thought about his life. Multiple houses, cars he barely drove, vacations he forgot a week after they ended. And then this woman holding up a van on the side of a mountain while wearing sandals. Book me a flight, he said. Jenna blinked. To Vietnam. Yeah, Logan said. To Vietnam, she hesitated. Sir, you just got back. You've got the investor summit, the board. Reschedule what you can, he said. Zoom the rest. This is non-negotiable. She studied his face and nodded. Yes, sir. 2 months after that storm, Logan and Mason were back at the airport. Mason bounced on his heels. Are we really going back to see her? He asked. For real, for real. For real, for real, Logan said. You ready? Mason grinned. Always. What Lynn didn't know yet was that this scared dad from the storm wasn't just coming back to say thank you. He was coming back to flip her whole life right side up. The second time they walked into that guest house, the weather was calm. Blue sky, soft breeze. The road still scarred from the landslide, but passable now. Logan's chest tightened as the building came into view. Same tin roof, same crooked lanterns, same hand-painted sign. Mason ran ahead and then stopped, suddenly shy. What if she doesn't remember us? He asked. Logan smiled. Trust me, bud, you don't forget the people you almost die with. He stepped inside. The air smelled like it did that night. Rice, tea, frying garlic. Lynn stood at the little counter, stacking bowls. She looked up. For a second there was no reaction, just a stranger at her door. Then her eyes widened. You, she breathed. The storm. Mason waved, grinning. Hi, Miss Lynn. Her whole face lit up. You come back, she said. You okay? Little boy, you okay? I'm good, Mason said proudly. I don't cry in storms anymore. That's a lie, Logan murmured, smirking. I still do. Lynn laughed. A real laugh this time, not the tired, polite one from before. Why you come back? She asked. Vacation again. Something like that, Logan said. He glanced around. The place looked even more worn in daylight. Paint peeling. Roof patched in 3 different places. Furniture old but clean. Lynn's touch everywhere, trying to make it home with almost nothing. Can we sit? He asked. Of course, she said, gesturing to the same low table. You want tea, food? Tea first, Logan said. Then I want to talk. About something important. Her eyes narrowed slightly, uncertain, but she brought the tea. They sat. Mason sipped slowly like he knew this was a big moment. Lynn, Logan started, I need to tell you something. Something I didn't say before. She folded her hands and waited. Back then, he said, you thought I was just some regular tourist with bad luck. You are tourist with bad luck, she said, smiling. He chuckled. Fair. But there's more to it. He took a breath. "In the States, I run a company," he said. "A big one, I own most of it, so I'm not just kinda comfortable. I'm, insanely well off." Lynn frowned. "I don't understand." Logan tried again. "I am rich," he said simply. "Very rich." She stared at him, waiting for the punchline. When it didn't come, her eyes widened. "Rich like hotel owners?" she asked. "Or rich like the men on TV?" "More the second one," he admitted. Silence. The rain hammering kind of silence, even though the sky outside was clear. "Why you not say?" she asked finally. "Because that night," he said, "I needed you to see me for who I really was. Not for the money. Not for what I could give you, just a dad with a scared kid who needed help." He held her gaze. "And you did. You helped us, no questions asked. No angle, no strings. You saved my son, Lynn, you saved me." Her jaw clenched. "You think money changed that?" she asked quietly. "You think I help you because maybe you rich? No. I help because you human, because you need help." "I know," he said softly. "That's exactly why I'm here." Mason leaned forward. "Dad wants to help you now," he blurted out. "Like big-time help. Not just thank you card help." "Subtle dude," Logan muttered, but he couldn't help smiling. He reached into his bag and pulled out a folder. He slid it across the table. Lynn didn't touch it. "What is this?" she asked. "A choice," he said. "A real one." She hesitated, then opened it. There were photos, drawings, papers translated into Vietnamese, a plan. "I've been thinking a lot since we left," Logan said. "About this place, about you. About how you held up that van like your own family was inside." He pointed at the papers. "I want to invest in this town," he said. "For real, not in some touristy, tacky way. In a way that actually helps the people who live here." Lynn's eyes moved over the pages. "Community guest house," she read slowly. "Training program, local jobs, scholarship fund." He nodded. "We turn this broken-down guest house into something real," he said. "Safe, modern, beautiful. We hire locals. We train them. We bring in steady business. We fund education for kids from the mountain villages. You run it. You're the boss here. We handle the legal stuff, the structure, the money. You handle the heart." She shook her head, overwhelmed. "I cannot," she said. "I finished school at 15. I don't know business. I just cook, clean, take care." Logan leaned in. "Lynn," he said, "you spotted danger before anyone else. You dragged us off that road. You've been running this place solo. That is business. That is management. You've been doing it without help. I'm just offering you the help you never got." Tears gathered in her eyes and she looked away quickly. "My husband," she whispered. "He wants something like this. A place for travelers. A place where people feel safe. He died before we can make it good. I try, but storm, debt, always something." Logan swallowed. "I can't bring him back," he said, "but I can help finish what you two started." Mason scooted closer to her. "Miss Lynn," he said, "you didn't let us fall, so now we're not gonna let you fall, okay?" Her shoulders shook once. Then she nodded just barely. "You really do this?" she asked. "Not joke." "No joke," Logan said. "We draw up contracts, fair ones. You keep majority control here. It's your home, your project. I back you with money, lawyers, all the boring stuff." She looked at him like he'd just offered her the moon. "Why?" she whispered. "Because you reminded me what my money is actually for," he said. "And I refuse to live a life where you risk everything to save us and I do nothing." Outside, scooters passed by. Kids laughed in the distance. A dog barked. Inside that small guest house, a whole new future was being written on a low wooden table with cheap pens and shaking hands. 2 years later, if you walked up that same mountain road in Vietnam, you wouldn't recognize it. The potholes were still there, sure. The jungle still leaned in close, but halfway up the hill, the old guest house. Yeah, that was different. The tin roof was gone. In its place, a clean, solid structure, still simple, still local, but strong. Fresh paint, sturdy windows, solar panels on top, lanterns that actually worked. The sign out front read, "Open Door House Guest House and Community Hub" underneath in smaller letters, "Run by locals." Built for everyone. Inside, the lobby buzzed. Backpackers checking in, families from the city, a group of local women laughing as they finished a training session on running homestays. Kids chased each other around a corner on their way to an after-school tutoring program. At the front desk, Lynn, same sharp eyes, same quiet strength, but the tiredness was different now. Not hopeless tired, just regular I'm running a busy place tired. Her English had improved, her confidence too. She didn't shrink back when talking to foreigners anymore. She stood tall, called the shots, signed the checks. Logan had kept his word. He'd put up the initial money. He'd brought in people who knew how to structure it right. He'd insisted on one thing: this place has to belong to the community, he'd said. Not to me. I'll help build it, but the people living here, they're the ones who should own the future. So that's what they did. A portion of every room booking went to a scholarship fund for kids in nearby villages. Another portion funded a food program for families hit hardest in bad seasons. Local staff earned fair wages, not whatever we can get away with. The women in town learned how to run homestays, sell their crafts without getting ripped off, and negotiate like bosses. Logan didn't turn into some cheesy white savior poster boy. He refused. He kept saying, "I'm just the guy who showed up with a checkbook. She's the one who showed up in a storm." And every Christmas now he and Mason flew back. Not to save anyone, to visit family. Because that's what Lynn had become. Family. On one of those trips, Mason, now 9, taller, missing 2 front teeth, sat at a long wooden table with local kids. They were drawing their future dreams for a little project Lynn had come up with. Doctor, teacher, tour guide, artist. Mason wrote, "I want to build places like this, all over the world." Logan watched him, heart full. "Didn't see that coming," he muttered. Lynn stepped beside him. "You give him good example," she said. He shook his head. "Nah, you did." Back in Cincinnati, Logan's life looked different too. He still ran his company, still wore the suit, still did the meetings, but the company had changed. He'd started a branch focused on community investment, real stuff, not just slap our logo on a donation stuff. He paid his people better, listened more, spent more time on the ground and less time hiding in conference rooms. When people asked why, he'd tell a shorter version of the story. "A woman in Vietnam reminded me what money is for," he'd say, "to keep people from going over the edge." Sometimes interviewers tried to spin it into a clean little redemption arc. Billionaire learns to be good, that kind of thing. Logan always shut that down. "I wasn't evil before," he'd say. "I was just asleep. She woke me up, big difference." As for Lynn, one evening rain tapped softly on the new roof. She sat in the common area going over a ledger. Numbers weren't huge. This wasn't some crazy profit machine. But the lights stayed on, the staff got paid, kids stayed in school, people had choices they didn't have before. Mason came running in holding a drawing. Miss Lynn," he yelled. "I made this." She took the paper. It showed the guest house on the hill with people from everywhere walking in and out. In the corner, a woman stood in the rain, pushing on a van. Next to her, in messy handwriting, "Thank you for saving us." Lynn blinked back tears. She remembered that night like it was burned into her bones. The fear, the noise, the weight of metal under her hands. She remembered thinking, "If I don't push, that boy dies," so she pushed. No guarantee, no safety net, no idea what would happen next. She just knew she couldn't do nothing. Now, looking around the busy common room, she realized something wild. That one choice. It hadn't just saved 2 tourists from Cincinnati. It had started a chain reaction. Jobs, scholarships, hope, all from one moment on a stormy mountain road. Later, as the evening cooled, Logan stood outside looking at the lights of the town below. "You ever think," he said, "about how close we were to just not being here?" Lynn joined him. "Every storm," she said. "Every time rain hit roof, I remember, but I also remember you come back." He smiled. "Yeah, I wasn't about to let the story end on a cliff." She nudged him with her shoulder. "American people," she said, "always need happy ending." "Hey," he laughed, "can you blame us?" She glanced back at the glowing windows. Kids' voices. Laughter, dishes clinking. Life. "This not happy ending," she said softly. "This happy beginning." And she was right. Because that's the real thing about stories like this. They don't end when the storm passes. They don't end when the billionaire writes the check. They don't end when the guest house is fixed up and the scholarships start flowing. They keep going. Every kid who walks through that door, every job created, every life nudged a little closer to stable, all of it traces back to one simple, terrifying moment on a wet mountain road. A woman in sandals, a van on the edge. A choice, look away or lean in and push. She chose to push. And in the end, that push didn't just save a billionaire and his son. It gave her a new life, gave him a new purpose, and gave a whole community a shot at something better. All because, on one wild Christmas in Vietnam, a poor widow opened her door and refused to let strangers fall. If this story touched your heart even a little, don't keep it to yourself. Hit like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who still believes in quiet heroes and second chances. And don't forget to turn on the notification bell, so the next time we drop a story like this, you're the first to feel it.